Was thrown to the ground and arrested by the LAPD in a case of mistaken identity. The producer says he thinks he was grabbed just because he's black, and police assumed that he was the person they were after. Well, it turns out the officers were wrong. Our investigative reporter Eric Leonard has been looking into the complaint that's now part of a federal lawsuit.
They pushed me up against this gate, boom, and do this, and they try to pull my hands behind my back.
To see Antone Austin reenact the afternoon when he was grabbed off the sidewalk on Fountain Avenue by LAPD Hollywood Division officers is almost like watching a one-man play.
They pushed me back up against the wall again, boom, this time harder.
He says when he demanded to know why he was being pushed against a garage door May 24th, 2019, he was met with more force from two uniformed officers.
Then when they pushed me back up against the wall again, boom, this time harder, and they're trying to put my hands behind my back, I started yelling for help.
It turns out police were headed to the building because one of Antone's neighbors had called 911 to report an ex-boyfriend was back and she needed help. The 911 call cuts off before the neighbor gives a description. So when officers pulled up, Antone says he believes they just assumed it had to be him.
And the one officer at one point says, "Is that the guy?" And the other officer says, "Probably." And after he gets out the car, the driver says, "Yeah, that's the guy."
It turns out the man police were looking for was much shorter and white.
And if they thought you were the guy, I feel like they would have had a conversation with you. They wouldn't just immediately have thought about slapping cuffs on your body and pushing you up against a dirty garage, slamming you on the concrete.
Both Antone and his girlfriend Michelle, who ran downstairs and tried to intervene, were arrested. They spent hours in jail. Now, 2 years later, no charges have been filed, and Antone and his girlfriend have filed a federal lawsuit that accuses the officers of using excessive force and violating their civil rights.
It is a big deal. A person's dignity is a big deal. A person should not have to go through what he had to go through just because he's an African-American male.
He says the LAPD's body-worn video recordings show exactly what happened, but the recordings cannot be shown to the public because the LAPD is allowed to decide which clips get released.
What amazes me is that they're still fighting me. I don't know why the city of LA is fighting. They have no case. We have the body cam footage, we have the 911 recording. Everything bears out the facts as we say it.
Antone and Michelle have moved to a new home. He says he thinks back about that day and constantly wonders what could have happened.
I just know that these are the situations that people that look like me die in.
If his neighbors had not called 911 when they heard Antone calling for help.
The neighbors that saved my life are also white folks. So it's like, you know, without them, ain't no telling what would have happened to me.
The LAPD declined to comment because of the lawsuit. The city of LA is fighting the case. It says Antone and Michelle are entitled to nothing because it says in court papers that the two are responsible for causing the scuffle with officers, and the police have immunity because it says the couple was arrested. Antone and Michelle's case is set for trial in October. There's a hearing later this month when a judge could decide if the public should see the police video of that mistaken arrest. I'm investigative reporter Eric Leonard, NBC4 News.
An Orange County family is suing the off-duty deputy who pulled a gun on their son